Hello everybody, it's Monday afternoon. I was gonna say Monday morning, but the day has flown by. It's afternoon already. So today I wanna talk about one of the topics I had you guys vote on in the poll last week, and this one is all about television. So if you have ever thought about being on television, and I don't mean on like CSI, if you want to be interviewed on television, especially on morning television, that is what I'm going to talk about. And you know what? I take that back. Not just morning television. We're going to talk to you about how to be an expert on other shows. I think I've only been on morning television once or twice. Most of my TV work has been on bigger networks on shows throughout the day or evening. In the evening, if you know much about me, then you know that my background in the media realm, at least, is through sports. So my early television experience was all on sports networks. So I started on Comcast Sports Southeast, and then I was on ESPN. I've done spots on local television on sports segments. I've done Al Jazeera TV before it was gone. I've done, gosh, what else have I done? I think I've done CNN on a sports topic. So anyway, I want to talk a little bit about how I get my clients on TV, and I can talk to you a little bit about how I got on TV too. What I do is a little different than what most of my clients do on TV. So there's a lot of different ways, and it really depends on what your topic is and who you're trying to reach as to what kind of show you're going to try to go on. So I'm going to wait just like a minute more to see if anybody else gets on, but my plan is to talk about why you would want to go on TV, what kind of options there are for going on TV, what you should talk about if you get the opportunity to go on TV, and then what can that appearance do for you? So how do you leverage that appearance and get something out of it that either establishes you as an expert or grows your business? I see a couple of you have jumped on. If you're here and you want to say hi, say hi. And we'll just wait a few more seconds here to see if anybody jumps on, and then we will dive into talking about TV. This is such a fun one. It's one of those that when my clients sign up, they immediately want to know how fast can they be on TV. Now, a few of them have decided that they don't want to be on TV right away. They either have some fears to work through, or they're just not quite ready for their message to be on television yet. So not all my clients jump at that opportunity right away, but it's probably the thing I get asked about the most during my calls with potential clients, and then when clients actually come in the door. Hello, it's so nice to have you guys here on a Monday. I had to get all dressed up because I've got to go out of my house to a meeting, and so I figured as long as I was going to do my hair and makeup, I might as well talk to you guys today too, right? Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and get started, and anybody who joins later can just watch the replay. So television. Okay, most entrepreneurs who end up on television end up on morning television. It's the easiest to get people on for the most part. It really depends on what your area of expertise is. So actually, it's not that easy for me to get on morning television. It's tough to talk about sports on morning television because the audience for morning television is largely female, and it's largely females who either stay at home or are retired. And that's not to say that females aren't sports fans. Obviously, I'm a big sports fan, but they don't see that as a big topic for their audience. So it's tough for me to actually pitch myself for morning television. Easier to pitch my clients. It's easier for me to pitch myself for evening newscasts, where I'm going to give some sort of, sports information. Like I live just outside Jacksonville, Florida, so they usually call me when something big happens here. We get a big event in town or something happens for one of the teams here in town. And I do a lot of national TV, going on national sports networks to talk about issues that are within my area of expertise as a sports business analyst. But I would say for most of my entrepreneur clients, we're targeting morning television. And it is important to know what that demographic is for morning television, because for some of my clients, morning television is not a fantastic fit in terms of there being people in the audience who are going to turn around and buy from them, whether they have a product or a service. It really depends. I have some clients who that is their audience. I have a client who wants to reach stay-at-home moms. Actually, I have two clients right now who I just did pitches for in the last week who want to reach stay-at-home moms who perhaps want to start their own businesses or already have and are trying to learn more about online marketing for those businesses. So morning television is a good fit for them. I've had other clients who I've had to tell that morning television is not a great fit for them, but that maybe they should do it anyway because having that television appearance credentials you, okay? When people land on your website or on your social media and they see that you had a television appearance, it automatically lifts you up in their mind, okay? Think about if you landed on someone's website or on their social media and they had just been on TV. you think of them as being more credible, more serious, more accomplished, more of an expert. I mean, even if you don't think about these things subconsciously, those I think are the things that go through someone's head when they see that you've been on television, because it's not something that everyone gets to do. However, it's also not the hardest thing in the world to do. I can probably get you on local morning television faster than I can get you a book deal with a traditional publisher. Probably faster than I can get you a $10,000 speaking gig. Depends on who you are. But it is not such a huge barrier. Most clients I tell, if you really want to be on morning TV, we can get you there. Sometimes we've got to really work with the talent bookers and come up with an angle that works for their audience. It's easier for some clients than others, but the barrier to entry probably isn't as high as you think that it is. People think TV is really unobtainable, and that's just not true. I've had 3 of my clients on TV in the last month, and considering I have less than 10 total clients, that's a pretty big percentage of my client base that's been on TV, and I have some clients who don't want to be on TV, so I haven't even been pitching them. So pretty high success rate with the clients that I've pitched. I only have 2 clients who want to be on TV who I have not gotten on TV yet, but one of them I just sent the first pitch Friday, I think, and one of them I just sent the first pitch today, so we're on our way. Okay, so when you pitch, it is so important to know what the demographic for that show is and to come up with an angle that's going to work. Now, you can speak directly with the person who books. You can call the TV station and you can ask to speak to the talent booker or for the producer who books talent for X show. And they will put you through the person or let you leave a message or give you their email address. And hopefully that person will be kind enough to walk you through the types of guests they have that normally work for them. But the easiest thing to do is to go on the website for that show and just look through their past segments. I haven't looked for a show recently that didn't keep their recent segments online, so you should be able to find all their recent segments and get a feel for the type of segments that they do. Is there anything like what you would want to do? So I have a client who has a cookbook coming out in September. So I looked to see were there cooking segments on this show that she wanted to go on. And then I looked at how the cooking segments were set up. Were they just cooking one recipe or multiple recipes? What did they seem to emphasize? Was it the person's personal story? Was it, were all these people restaurateurs and they were talking about the restaurants? I try to get a feel for what similar segments have been on, because you want to pitch something that kind of fits with the show's demographic, and you can tell that from watching previous segments. You can also prevent yourself from pitching something that was just on a week or 2 ago. So I usually scan back through a couple of weeks worth of episodes at least. I'll go back as far as I can within reason, because I don't want to pitch something they've done recently, but I want to pitch something that's in their wheelhouse, okay? Something that's not so outside the box from what they've had. And you get a little creative sometimes, but I found the best way to help, trigger that brainstorm and come up with those ideas for the angles that you can pitch is to go and look at previous segments. And if you've read my advice about guest blogs, then you know that this advice is very similar. When I tell you to go pitch yourself for guest blogs, I say go read 10 blogs on that website. Look in the section that you want to write for and read the blogs in that section. Same holds true here, okay? Go and find the show and watch some of the previous segments. Get a feel for what they have on. Most shows, most blogs, whatever you're gonna pitch yourself for, newspaper columns, whatever it is, they're not gonna get too far outside of that box that they've established. And so you do wanna make yourself kind of fit in the box. I know we spend our whole lives thinking we need to think outside the box and we have to be creative and different and unique, and you do wanna be all those things, but still within the confines of the box sometimes. You can't get too far out there. You're not going to convince a morning show who usually have guests on during the 9 o'clock hour. You're not going to convince them to have a really heavy business segment, because people who would be interested in that segment are at work. Okay? And they don't tend to have guests on during the 6 and 7 o'clock hours. It varies a little bit by show, and that's why you want to watch the show that you want to be on. And that's why you want to look at previous segments of the show, because you want to tell them that you fit in and that you know how to speak to their demographic and to their audience. So that's what I do before I send a pitch. So I sort of try to match up what the show's had on before and who their audience is with what my client wants to do and what they want to accomplish. So one of my clients is going to be opening a program at the beginning of the year that's going to be geared towards stay-at-home moms who want to have a business on the side. And so we can pitch her for morning television, and did actually this morning pitch her for morning television to talk to stay-at-home moms about starting their own business. So not only is that a topic the TV show would be interested in having, but it's also a topic that leads really nicely into what she's going to be trying to sell in the next few months. So that gives her an opportunity, hopefully, to plug her program that's coming up and to get in front of an audience that might actually buy that program. Now, that's not always the case. I have another client who's going to go on and try to do a similar kind of segment, but her work tends to be more in the corporate world. We can't really pitch a heavy corporate piece because, again, those people are at work. They're not watching the 9 o'clock hour of the local morning show. So we've got to appeal to the demographic, but we want to get her on television, again, to credential her and to position her as an expert. So it still makes sense for her to go on, even though maybe her ideal client isn't necessarily watching. Okay. I said that I would give you guys a pitch word for word. So I'm literally going to read you a pitch. This is for my client, Laura Marquis, who, bless her heart, said that we could use her pitch, that I could read it to you guys on the live here. I'm going to literally read it for you word for word. I sent this about a month ago. It took them almost 3 weeks to get back to us. They had Laura on last week. You probably saw me post her segment. She is my client that has a cookbook coming out, Sweets in the Raw, coming out September 1st. And so we wanted to get her a cooking segment on television. She was able to plug her book, and she was able to plug an upcoming book signing and demonstration that we got her at Williams-Sonoma. So that's awesome. She was able to plug 2 things she has coming up. She was able to be on TV, which she can use on her website and her social media. So this is the pitch that landed that. She had never been on TV before. They didn't already know her. So this was a cold pitch. And this is what it said. Want to treat yourself to dessert but can't take the sugar, dairy, or gluten found in most desserts? Laura Marquis was a sugar addict. She even admitted in her recent TEDx talk on sugar addiction that during her days working in a bakery, she would throw away defective desserts only to fish them out and eat them later. As if that wasn't bad enough, she'd later learned she was both gluten and dairy intolerant, which is why she felt so miserable all the time. She could have sworn off desserts forever, but instead she researched and tested recipes until she found desserts that were not only easy to make, but also sugar-free, gluten-free, and dairy-free, while still being delicious. Laura Marquis is the owner of a fitness studio in San Diego, Marquis Pilates and Fitness. She's releasing her first cookbook this September, Sweets in the Raw, which features dessert recipes that are sugar-free, gluten-free, and dairy-free. We'd love to get Laura in to do a segment with you. We've watched some of your food segments, and Laura made this list of the easiest recipes she has made that could be on the show. Orange zest brownies, chocolate or vanilla bean macaroons, peanut butter fudge, peanut butter cookies, oatmeal raisin cookies. Please let us know if you'd be interested in booking Laura for a segment on San Diego Living. You can check out her cooking demonstrations on her YouTube channel here. Thank you, Christy. So a few different things. I'll kind of go back through this with you. I opened with a question. So the way I like to pitch, and this is just my personal preference, and it has worked for me and for my clients, I always open a pitch, whether it's for a magazine or a guest blog or a TV segment or radio interview, whatever it is. I always open with a question, almost always. Sometimes it's a statement, but something shocking or surprising, something that grabs attention. Depends what the topic is, obviously, but with hers, I opened with, do you want to treat yourself to dessert but can't take the sugar, dairy, or gluten found in most desserts? Okay, so I want it to be interesting enough and to make clear that it's a topic that they would be interested in. There was nothing, super shocking here, but that I did lead into something shocking in the next paragraph. If you were listening, I said that Laura was a sugar addict and that in her TEDx speech, I mentioned the TEDx speech because that credentials her, okay? She's not like some Joe Blow off the street who's just decided she wants to be on TV, okay? She's somebody who's been putting in the time and doing the building blocks. I talk about that on a lot of my lives, this idea of having building blocks, and that, we go after certain blogs first, and then we use those and leverage them to get different blogs at bigger, better places. There's sort of an order you do things in, and that's so you can credential yourself. So I mentioned the TEDx talk on Perfect, and I talked about this shocking revelation in her TEDx talk, which I knew I could share because her TEDx talk is on the internet and everyone's seen and heard it, where she shared about her sugar addiction, and when she worked in a bakery, that she would throw away these defective desserts and then go dig them out of the trash later. That's going to grab somebody's attention. That's going to grab someone's attention. I think we cut out for just a minute there. I'm sorry. I've never had my Facebook Live cut out before, but hopefully we're back now and you can still hear me. So I tried to throw in something a little shocking, surprising, attention grabbing. I credentialed her by talking about the TEDx talk and by talking about the fact that she owns a fitness studio, the fact that she's written this book. I linked to the book. I linked to the TEDx talk. Later, I talked about her YouTube channel with demonstrations. I linked to that because I wanted them to see what she was like in front of a camera. I wanted them to see what a cooking demonstration was like. Now, you're not always going to have that opportunity, but if you do have speaking reels or even just examples from speaking engagements or previous TV or podcast interviews, anything you can link to show them previous work that you've done, guest blogs, you can link to those too. Anything you can use to sort of credential yourself and show that you're someone who's trying to build a body of work, you're someone who's serious about this, this is your area of expertise. That's going to go a long way with a talent booker. And it's one of the reasons that I've told you guys before that writing for Huffington Post is worth it. I've told you that talent bookers still think Huffington Post is a big deal. Now, you guys are in a lot of Facebook groups and you see people talking and you feel like everyone gets to write for Huffington Post now and that it's so easy to get into. Okay, first of all, it's not. I know people who have tried to get in who haven't. So, there are people that get told no, but it's still a big deal for some people. So a 60-year-old talent booker at a TV station who's been in TV production her entire career might not know that everybody gets into Huffington Post now, or that it's a low bar for entry, or whatever it is you believe about Huffington Post. That's something that can still credential you for other opportunities like TV. So we didn't use that for Laura, but she had been writing for Mind Body Green and in these other places. There were a lot of things I could have used to credential her, and I chose what I thought were the most relevant and the most compelling things to credential her in my pitch. So that's kind of how it's done. You identify the show you want to go on, you watch past segments and get an idea of what they take. You find that angle that is unique and that they haven't done recently, but that also kind of fits inside the box of what they do and what their demographic would find interesting. You write the pitch. The pitch goes to a talent booker or to a producer. Totally depends on the station. Some people don't have anyone with a talent booker title. If you want to know who to send it to, you generally just call the station and you say, who books guests for XYZ show? They'll tell you who the person is, put you through to their voicemail, or give you their email address. I prefer to do email pitches first, so I ask for their email. I send this email pitch. I'll follow up with a phone call if I don't hear back from them. So that kind of covers how you get yourself on TV. In terms of what TV can do for you, I've talked about this a little bit already, but it does allow you to establish yourself as an expert and to credential yourself. Now, you might not get any sales or any new clients directly off the broadcast, particularly when we're talking about service-based entrepreneurs. It's going to be pretty rare that someone's going to be watching the show and then it's going to reach out to you and tell you they're hiring you because they saw you on TV. It happens, but you shouldn't go in with that expectation. Products are a little bit different. You really can get some good traffic on your website and move some products from being on TV, depending on what you're on and what you talk about when you're on the show and how much your products are showcased. But for service-based entrepreneurs, it's a little tougher. And I think that the benefit to going on TV is being able to take that appearance and put it on your website or put it on social media and leverage it and use it to position yourself as an expert and credential yourself in front of the audience you already have. Okay, so when I have appearances like that, or my clients do, I tell them, you put it on your website, you post it on social media, on all the different platforms you're on, you can send it to your newsletter subscribers, get it in front of people, okay? And if you have trouble with feeling like being self-promotional is icky, I think I've talked about that in a live before, and we can work through that together if you want to talk about it some more. Maybe I'll do another live on that, but you've got to, like, that's what you want to do. Those appearances mean nothing if you just do them and hope that people were tuned in live. You've got to leverage them, okay? So you've got to use them on your website and social media and in your newsletter and show people that you had that appearance, because it's going to credential you. It's going to position you as an expert. Those people who were on the fence about you, it's going to help them get over the fence. It's going to help them feel like you can help them and that you are an expert at what you say you are. So I think it's a terrific opportunity to sort of close the deal on people who are already paying attention to you and might not live in your local area and watch the show live, but will have that opportunity to watch the replay if you post it, okay? So please share these kind of opportunities after you do them. If you guys have any questions, I will stick around for a couple minutes and answer questions. And as always, I am happy to come back later and answer questions in the comments if you want to leave questions down in the comments. But I personally love doing television. First time I ever went on television, I had never been on before. I emailed the producer for a show and I talked about who I was and what I could come on and talk about. They had me actually come in and just interview with them in person before they decided to put me on TV. That doesn't happen very often. But that was how this producer treated the situation. I went in and they ended up putting me on live TV that night, completely unexpectedly. I had never been on television before. And I was actually able to turn that into a weekly segment that I had for almost 2 years. And it was part of how I built my expertise as a sports business analyst and eventually got hired away from my corporate law job to go work for ESPN as a sports business analyst. And I don't know if I would have gotten that ESPN opportunity if I hadn't already had that TV experience. And it's just a cold email that I sent to a producer. So if you want these kind of opportunities, be willing to pitch yourself for them. And if you don't feel comfortable and you don't want to pitch yourself for them, that's when you hire me. I'll do it for you. And you get that little extra clout of them being the talent booker being like, wow, this person has a publicist. Like, they must be a big deal, right? But you can absolutely pitch yourself for this kind of stuff. I've always done it. I've taught other people how to do it. So it's certainly something you can do for yourself. And if you're not comfortable, then talk to me and I would be happy to work with you on it. I don't see any questions, so I will come back and check the comments later if anybody has any questions. And if you decide to pitch yourself for television, I want to hear about it, especially if you land a television segment. I want to hear about it. I want to watch it. I will be so excited for you. So I hope this answered your questions about being on TV. And if it didn't, leave me a question in the comments or shoot me a private message and I will be happy to answer your questions. Hope you guys have an awesome week. I will for sure be back later this week with another live or two. I don't know about what yet, so if you know what you want me to talk about, you can leave me a comment about that too. And I will see you later this week, guys. Bye.